Hi there guys, welcome to another Rossberry Productions video. Within this video I'm going to show you how to replace the brake pads and discs on the front of a 2008 Peugeot 307cc. I've also made a video on the rear brake pads and discs, so please check that out as well. So the first thing we're going to do is retrieve this tool tray from our boot. It's found just under the boot liner. Within this we need three things. 1, our jack. 2, the wheel brace, and 3, the cap remover. This is the first thing we're going to do. So this just fits over the cap, pull them straight off like that, and repeat for all 4. With the car still on the ground, you want to undo your wheel nuts about half a turn. We're now ready to start jacking the car, but please make sure that your car's in gear and the handbrake is firmly on. I've also chocked the rear wheel, so you might want to do the same. The jacking point's found just here on our side skirt. With the wheel now off the ground, undo each of the 17mm bolts fully. Now take the wheel off and place under the car. Now you will need to get a T30 Torx bit so we can undo each of the locating screws on the disc. Be careful not to strip the bolt and just undo them about 1 turn at this stage. Next, get a 13mm spanner and we're going to split the caliper. There's 1 bolt here and 1 at the bottom. With both bolts out, you should be able to rock the caliper backwards and forwards, separating the piston from the cradle, and there you go. Now it's best to support this up on something, and I'm going to use a bungee cord up onto the suspension here. With the piston now separated from the cradle, we can actually pull off our old brake pads here. So 1 to the front, 1 to the back. And now we'll take off the cradle. To do this you will need a T55 Torx bit. And again, there's 2 bolts, 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom. With the caliper now completely removed, we're ready to take the disc off. To do this, get your T30 Torx bit from earlier and remove retaining screws fully. With a quick tap with a hammer, that will allow us to take our disc off. With the old disc now off, just compare sizes, making sure you've got the right one. The thickness should be a little bit thicker because this is brand new. Test the hole diameter of it. Make sure all the bolt holes line up. Once you're happy, we're ready to put the new disc back on. Now before we go ahead and put the new disc back on, I'm just going to take the time and clean up the hub. To do this, I'm just going to use a wire brush. Once you're happy that's clean enough, get your new disc. Place it on, making sure all your bolt holes are lined up. Get your T30 retaining screws from earlier. Whilst it's off, I'm also going to take the time to clean our carriage. With your cradle now cleaned, just place it back over the disc, get your T55 Torx bolt from earlier. Now before we go to push the piston back, just open up your bonnet, take your reservoir cap off, and that will just allow your brake fluid to rise. If it gets near the top, syringe some out because we don't want that spilling over into the engine bay. Now we're ready to start pushing the pistons back. Just protect your new brake disc like that. Get the caliper from earlier with the piston. Get an old pad, nice big G-clamp, and start to push it back in slowly. With the piston now retracted, get yourself some copper grease. Just lightly smother it around, not too much. Then hang the caliper just out of the way for a second. Just take the time and compare your old pads to the new pads, making sure they're the same size, same shape. Obviously the new pads are going to be a lot thicker. I'm happy I've got the right ones. Now you're ready to put in our new pads. So one to the front, one to the back. Put them in all the way towards the disc. Same for the back. Making sure they're nice and tight. Retrieve your piston from earlier on. Slowly rotate it over the new pads. Two 13mm bolts. With your brake assembly now together, we're almost ready to put the wheel back on. I'm going to take the time to go and bleed the brakes, but it's your choice if you do that. Once you've checked all your bolts and you're happy, we're ready to put the wheel back on. Make sure you do up all of the bolts tight. And there you go, that's my video on how to replace the front brake pads and discs on a 2008 Peugeot 307cc. I've also made a video on how to replace the rear brake pads and discs, so please check that out. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.